Right. Hello. Welcome to the Align Life podcast. I hope you're doing amazing today. So, I am going live on YouTube as well as on the podcast. So, maybe you're listening to from podcasts or Spotify or some other podcast player. I'm also streaming this on YouTube, even though I cannot currently see myself. I'm just praying that it is working. So um, we will just keep going and assume that it is working. The time is working. I just can't see the video. Anyways, it has been a minute since I have done a podcast, and I will give you a little life update, and then we'll get into practical confidence. So, last couple of weeks, well, quite a while actually. About a month ago, we got back from Disneyland. Me and my family went to Disneyland, and then we also went to Indian Wells. My parents, friends were there, and we had a blast. And then when we got back, I feel like life has just been a bit of like a vortex, and haven't sat down to record a podcast. But we are back into the groove and the swing of things. Um, I signed up a couple of months ago, I guess, for the full marathon happening where I'm from in March 20 or May 26th. And so I have been training for that, and it's been really good, but just very time intensive. I'm running about 5 days a week. I'm still doing my daily morning yoga. I've got a couple of days of free weights that I'm doing just on my own. And I'm trying to get in a lot of sleep. Like, I've been going to bed as soon as I get my girls to bed, which as they're getting older, their bedtime is getting later and later. But I've been really trying to get to bed by like 9:30 or 10. And then, I'm up in the morning and getting to bed and on with my day. So it's been really good. I'm working hard. I'm enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. Putting in a lot of miles each week. And this coming weekend, my long run is 18 miles. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time listening to some podcasts. Feel free to send me podcast recommendations if you have some good ones that I could listen to on my runs. And also, like, let me know if you're running, if you're training for anything. I'd love to know. It's like my favorite thing to talk about is running and all of the things that go with that. If you're not a runner, you might think that's really boring, but I know that lots of other runners love to just talk about running. So, anyways, today we're going to talk about confidence. So, I have a lot of thoughts that I want to share. I know I've done a podcast episode on this before, but I feel like talking about it again, just from maybe a new perspective, doing things slightly different. And um, in the last, um, I guess, half a year, just about maybe a year, I've really been learning a lot from Kabbalah or about Kabbalah. And they talk so much about certainty in Kabbalah, and everything they talk about is just like that's one of the most important things, and is just having certainty. And so I've always thought about it from like the angle of self-belief. That's how I've always, or just belief, right? Is um, when it comes to personal growth work, or if you go more spiritual, it's law of attraction or manifestation, whatever you want to call it. They would maybe more word it with the term belief. From Kabbalah, it's certainty. And, like, if you think about the definition of that word, like, what does that mean to have certainty? Like a deep knowing, it's maybe even deeper than knowing, right? It's just like a little bit like maybe you you don't know how everything's gonna go. You don't know if it's all gonna be, good or there might be more obstacles or challenges, but, like, you still have, um, maybe this feeling of, like, it's all gonna be okay still, and, it's a grounding feeling is how I interpret it and think of it. And I think when it comes to confidence because I had a program, it's inside of my Align membership, and it's called Confidence Codes, and so I did that maybe 2 years ago, and it's a 4-week program, listen to it probably in a day, but it's be done over 4 weeks, and it's teaching you, self awareness, essentially like self-belief and certainty, and also taking chances was the 4th one. Of the confidence codes. There was 4 codes. And really, I think about that from the sense of taking chances, from the sense of, like, certainty or having belief. I think about that as confidence, right? Is that, okay, there's something coming up. Even think about maybe you're doing a run or you have something else going on in your fitness that you're working towards. You don't know how it's all gonna go, but maybe you have a goal in mind and you're putting yourself out there and it's like it's taking a chance, right? And it requires a level of confidence. It requires a level of having trust in yourself and hoping and planning for it to all go well, we could say, but you you don't know 100% that it's gonna go the way you want it to, but you're training for it or you're planning for it and you're doing the work on your end to get the result that you want. But there also is this unknown because it's not there yet. You haven't achieved it yet, or it's not finished yet, whatever it is, right? And so it does require you to have confidence in yourself or to have this feeling of self-assurance, like it's gonna be okay. I want it to go my way, but if it doesn't, it's still gonna be okay. That's what I've been thinking a lot about when it comes to confidence is, putting yourself out there in a sense, um, and and what it takes for you to have those types of thoughts about yourself. So I'm always gonna spin this back around to our thoughts and our mindset because that's, my teaching is that's what it all really stems from. Somebody is either confident or not confident based on how they think about themselves, what they believe about themselves, what they believe to be true about themselves. And some of the people that you might think of as confident might seem maybe bold, maybe loud out there, or maybe like really charismatic. But there's also that other end of it where confidence, I sometimes think of it as like quiet in a sense too. And that it's a feeling, like I've already mentioned, a feeling of self-assurance. Like you don't need to be maybe loud or um, uh, yeah, we'll go with loud. You don't need to be like that so much because, like, it's okay if you don't say something. It's okay if there's a conversation going on and maybe what they're saying isn't right or isn't true. Like, it would be okay if you just didn't say anything because you don't feel like you need to. You don't feel like you show how much you know or make somebody wrong. I've been thinking a lot about confidence from that end of it because a lot of also things that I've been listening to, learning about Kabbalah is really checking in with the intention behind why you do something. And so, a lot of times it's like giving yourself the medicine that you need, which is always a lot of it is, the practice of restriction, and that sounds like a terrible thing. I think restriction sounds like a awful something that nobody really wants to do, but it actually is so powerful, and it's because it requires so much intentionality. So back to this example about, let's say there's some coworkers of yours talking about something and it's something you know a lot about. but you don't say anything, and they're saying things and they're not correct in what they're saying, right? It's not maybe they're not talking about anybody, but it's just like they're they're saying things and it's not the right thing or and you know it. Maybe and so the point of this is like, what is it that you need? So there's some people that their natural inclination is to be like really quiet, really reserved, to speak up. And and for them, the medicine that they need maybe is and to show um, their knowledge and their wisdom, as long as it's not coming from a place of like, I'm gonna get an ego boost from this, or like I'm gonna prove them wrong or whatever, right? So it's all about the intention behind something. And and for the person that maybe is more quiet and introverted, that does take a lot of trust in yourself, a lot of self-assuredness, a lot of as we could say, to speak up and to say something. And then there's the other person that, if we're just, gonna do the polar opposite, there's somebody that might be more inclined to say something. Like they have no problem telling somebody that they're wrong, right? And for them, the medicine is, just let it go. If nobody is going to get hurt, what they're talking about, they're just talking about, something kind of general, but they kind of have it a little bit wrong. And you know that it's wrong, and you really actually do want to say something kind of to put them in their place or to tell them that they're wrong because it would make you feel good about yourself and how much you know. It's like in that case, the intention behind it isn't the most pure for you to say something, and so it would be better off not saying something. And um, having confidence in yourself from this point of view is like confidence that like I do know the right thing, right? But I don't need to say it because I'm okay with, just letting it go. Like it's okay. Um, so I feel like that's a theme that's come up for me a bit in my life is like why do I need to say something or do is it necessary for me to say something? I've also been thinking a lot about all of the different traditions that I like to study, and some of you might know, like, my background. I did my yoga teacher training when I was 18, and so I have a lot of interest in Hinduism and Buddhism and more of, like, Eastern philosophy, and, I feel like a lot of famous quotations from Eastern philosophy. I think it's Rumi even that who is a poet. I think it's his quote that he says, don't, and maybe it's Hafiz, Hafiz. Anyways, it's one of those two, but it's like, don't speak unless the words you have to say are improvement on the silence. And how much restriction, in a sense, that requires for a lot of us, right? There are some people who are maybe really introverted and have no problem not saying anything, and that's so then the opposite might be true for them is that they might maybe need to work on sharing their opinion more and speaking up for themselves more. But I think a lot of times it could be true that for us, we might be sometimes overbearing from a place. If you really went down to the root of it, we maybe would be able to tell that the intention behind it or the reason for us oversharing is coming from maybe low self-worth or low confidence or trying to see from other people in a certain way. And so whenever we have that intention coming up in us, we really want to check it and then hold back from saying anything because the energy is always transmitted. The energy of what we say, um, because saying things is neutral. It's all just neutral. It's always about our intention. The energy of our intention goes out into it, right? So I could say to somebody, I could say, one simple sentence to somebody, and I could have a really pure intention with it, or I could have maybe, um, maybe people pleasing intention underneath of it, right? Like what I'm saying isn't really coming from a pure place. Maybe I'm saying to like be a people pleaser or to try to get somebody to think that I'm a nice person, right? Or something like that. So always be checking in, and this takes a high level of awareness for us to be doing this, but start to like check in with why do I want to say something? Why do I want to share this information and where is it coming from? And I think that that's going to give you more, well, it's going to be one, it's going to be very good for your awareness, but two, it's going to really build your confidence in yourself, this inner sense of self, call it self-esteem, call it self-confidence, self-assuredness, like just feeling like, just this grounded sense in who you are. And so for you to kind of do this, like I said, it's two things. One, it's your thoughts about yourself, right? We need to really be aware and checking in with like, what do I truly think about myself? And I've said this 1,000 times, like spend time writing down what you think about yourself. Because even doing it, maybe you do it twice a year or something like that, but it changes. How you think about yourself is going to change. Like there's going to be times, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be improving, right? There can be things that might come up in our life that cause us to think differently about ourselves. Again, it's not that circumstances, um, there's a quote that says circumstances don't reveal the man, or don't make the man, they reveal the man. Sorry. So I'll just say that again. Circumstances don't make the man, they reveal the man. Meaning that like something might show up in your life and it causes it really maybe highlights a low self-worth belief that you have about yourself, right? So, and it might not have been revealed to you up until this circumstance happened. So maybe something comes up at work and you get a bad review, and then it's really revealing some low self-worth beliefs that you have about yourself, right? But up until you had this review, you weren't really aware of it. Or something might come up in your health and it's revealing certain thoughts that you have about yourself. So it is an important exercise to do every couple of months, maybe twice a year, or maybe more. You spend time just writing down honestly what you think about yourself so that you can see, okay, this is an area of my life where I do feel really confident and secure in who I am. This is an area where I don't. Um, because it's not always just, you know, sometimes we feel stronger in certain areas than in others. So another thing that I've shared in other podcast episodes on confidence, but I'll say it again, is that like it's something that you create, right? So I don't want you to think that it's like, okay, I either have it or I don't have it. It's something that you create, and you create it by learning to be okay with yourself. So this comes really down to your belief systems about who is an okay person and who's not an okay person. So, for example, like if you like all, because I think that most of us in this community are spiritual. Like we come from this belief of liking personal growth and liking spirituality. And so it's like if you're really into spirituality and you want to talk about the universe and law of attraction and creator and you say things like that, but then you feel like people are judging you, or you feel like you wouldn't want anyone to know that those are the things that you're into and those are the books that you read and those are the types of podcasts you like to listen to. Because maybe you grew up, I can maybe just say from my own experience growing up in a really small town where it was, as I talked about, like I for sure was the first and probably am still the only vegetarian from my small town. And everybody seems to kind of, and this is like a blanket statement, and I don't mean to sound like I'm judging anyone because I'm certainly not, but like, people weren't really into the things that I was into. Like nobody was really into yoga or Eastern maybe philosophy or anything like that. And so a lot of times I did kind of feel like alone in that. And um, so your upbringing in your childhood has such an impact on your thoughts about yourself, right? And we know this is like inner child and shadow work and all of that kind of stuff. And so you might have this belief that it's like not really, it's like taboo to talk about manifestation, or it's kind of weird, or you're kind of weird for liking manifestation, and no one really, no one thinks like you, and it starts to shape you, your personality. And so there's this whole part of you that loves, let's say, manifestation or law of attraction and spirituality, and talking about the universe and talking about the body healing from the mind, or the power of the thoughts. Let's say that's like a whole piece of you that's like something that you're so passionate about, and then you feel like you can't talk about it. There's this whole side of you that you're not sharing with the world, and that really comes down to your thoughts about yourself, right? Your sense of confidence is that you think that that's, it's not okay, or that's a weird thing to talk about or to share, because you had this belief from childhood that that's just like you're the only one that's interested in that, and no one else cares about it or thinks about it. And that's not that it's necessarily the ultimate truth, it's just that that's what you think based on some experiences that you have, right, when you were younger. So that impacts how you show up in the world, um, and how you feel about yourself, of course. So changing your thoughts about yourself is one part of it, but like also being, having self-acceptance and being okay with yourself is another part of that, right? Or building on that. And like starting, so healing that, because it doesn't have to be that exact example, but everybody I think has that to some degree, where we have these things that we're interested in that we maybe um, feel like other people would be like, that's, different, or like, who likes that kind of stuff, right? Like people might have those thoughts about themselves. And so it's coming to terms with it on your end, and being okay with it, and choosing to like think about yourself in a more empowered way. And then going back to what I was saying earlier is like, part of it is also maybe sharing it with the world, but also okay to have just like that quiet confidence of like knowing that this is something that I like. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to shout it out to the world, but also knowing like, am I hiding it, or am I just not saying anything because I don't need to? So it's always giving it the opposite. And this is really getting into shadow work type of stuff, because outing your shadow, like, what is a shadow? A shadow is something that is hidden from the light, something that, let's say, we hide from the light about ourselves because we have shame about it, or because like we think that people will like judge us or make fun of us, or that like whatever it is, right? So your shadow, if it's like easy for you to hide it, like, oh, I like, spirituality, but I don't, maybe you think I don't ever talk about it because like this would be your thoughts about yourself, right? You may think I don't talk about it, or I'm not going to say anything, um, because people will think that it's weird. Well, then that's a shadow thing for you. And so the opposite of that is saying it in a place where it feels safe, where it's like, it's okay if somebody does um, judge me, if somebody does say something about it, like, I'm still gonna be okay. So that's what I also wanna really share about confidence, is like, it's okay if somebody doesn't like you. It's okay if somebody thinks that it's weird that you like cooking, or law of attraction, or running, or certain movies, or whatever. It's like, it's okay, because I like me, and I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with who I am, and I don't need other people to fully approve of me. It's nice if they do, feels good if they do. This is something that Dara always says in his lectures and stuff, and I always love it. It's like, I love the appreciation. He says, I love when people clap for me. I love people buy my books, but I'm okay if they don't. I'm okay because I'm grounded in who I am. I have certainty in who I am. Kind of going back to some of those words we used in the beginning of the podcast. Like I have certainty in who I am. I'm good with who I am. And it's a work in progress, right? Knowing that like I'm okay with where I'm at. I'm growing and liking myself, and having the self acceptance is the most important thing. And the more that we have self acceptance of ourselves, that we find the people that also can mirror that back to us. Because life is a mirror for us. So any place where, and this is the funny thing about shadow work, right? Is that we want to hide it. We want to like keep that part of ourselves maybe that we feel vulnerable about or whatever. We want to keep it hidden. But the more that we can like be okay with it, the more that we won't feel like we need to hide it, right? So meaning like if you feel insecure about it, it's like gonna keep coming up in your world because it's something that the universe is asking you to heal. It's like this is you need to work through this, you need to heal this. And once you feel like it's all good within you, there's not gonna be, even if it does come up in your world, it's not gonna be a trigger for you. It's not gonna be something that kind of like pokes the wound because you you feel neutral towards it or you feel solid in it, right? But it's those things, and this could be for so many things. Like a lot of times it comes up with triggers, right? Where we feel maybe it's anger, maybe it's bitterness, resentment, maybe it's jealousy, where these things are coming up. They're coming up so that we can work through them. And if we don't understand that, then we're gonna kind of almost think like, why does this keep happening, right? And then we end up pointing fingers out at other people. It's this person. I need to just, get this person out of my life. And then another person comes into your life poking the exact same wound in you because it's something that's in you that you're attracting in. So we kind of got a little off topic there, but it really is all the same thing. So anytime that you have low confidence, low self-worth, you're struggling with self-esteem, you might find that there's situations that are kind of popping up in your life for you to work through and for you to feel confident in yourself or feel grounded in who you are so that you can heal that low self-worth area, right? And um, it's all emotional when we think about it, right? It's just coming back to this sense of like being okay to feel things. I've talked about this on the podcast before too, and it was something that I learned about from Brooke Castillo, and she said, really, this is like the root of confidence as well. That she said, like, if you understand the worst thing, like, right, in quotations, the worst thing that can ever happen to you is that you feel a feeling. So if we think about all the circumstances that happen, what is it that comes up? Is that we feel something. We feel anger, we feel sadness, we feel grief, we feel resentful, we feel jealous. Like all those things create feelings inside of us. So if the worst thing that can happen to you is that you feel a feeling, are you okay with that? Like, yeah, we've all felt feelings. We've all felt a wide range of feelings. We will, if we haven't yet, we will feel the spectrum of all the feelings because that's the human experience. And so if you know that you can handle that, which you can, right, and learning how to handle it better and better is really our life work. But if you know that you can handle that, then like you can have that grounded feeling in yourself. You can have confidence. You can have whatever it is that you want. You can go after anything, all of the goals, because you know you can handle failure. You can handle looking ridiculous. You can handle being embarrassed. You can handle being upset with yourself. You can handle if someone judges you or makes fun of you. If you can handle all of it, then you can essentially become unstoppable, right? And that's confidence. It's like knowing that, yeah, people might talk, yeah, people might judge me, yeah, people might make fun of me, yeah, I might look stupid, yeah, I'm gonna probably get it wrong once or twice or 100 times, and that's okay. And I'll get through it, and I'll still be okay with who I am. And maybe even like I'll still be proud of myself for putting myself out there and for trying things, right? That's really um, where I've been thinking of confidence at lately. So I'll leave it at that for you guys today. I still have no video on YouTube, but hopefully it has been working this whole time. So if you are wanting to tune in to the video version, if you're listening to this on a podcast player, I'll just make sure that the link is in the show notes. And same thing if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll make sure to have the link for the podcast in the show notes on or the description on YouTube. Want to just work deeper, join me inside of my Align membership or sign up for one-on-one coaching. Those links will also be in the description and the show notes below. And I will see you next week. Take care.